Hey guys, it's Steven. So today I'm making a video showing you one of the DeFi, sorry, not DeFi apps that I usually do, but this one's actually a centralized app called BlockFi that I use. This is primarily relevant to people who live in the US, however, as I don't really know like the other countries, like there are versions of BlockFi for other countries, but I don't know how safe they are and things like that. But BlockFi does have a pretty good review in terms of that's the reason I use them that much. But the reason I'm making this video is to show you how to take out a loan from BlockFi. So one of the cool things about BlockFi is that it is a place where you can deposit in your Bitcoin or Ethereum and earn interest on it. Or when you want to, you can also take out a loan against that. And they give pretty good loan to value ratios, up to 50%. And there are a lot of other centralized versions of BlockFi as well, like Nexo, which I also use. But the thing with some of these other platforms is the trustworthiness of them isn't that high. Nexo, I'm actually not too sure if that is the safest platform. So I've never really made a video on Nexo, even though I use it. And BlockFi is a little bit better, but don't put all your Bitcoin into BlockFi, please. A lot of these centralized apps, if their business goes out or it goes under, you're basically stuck without any of your coins are going to be gone, right? They're not FDIC insured, unlike a bank account, so the government won't pay you back. And yeah, I mean, it's really that's why even though there are DeFi versions like Compound and things like that, and centralized versions, they both have their pros and cons, and it's best not to um, put too much into just one platform. I used to just use Compound Finance, and I realized that that really wasn't the best approach, primarily because the interest rate fluctuates, and also the price of Bitcoin or Ethereum also fluctuates. And if you borrow up to like 75% or 70% out of something like Compound, you can get margin called really easily, right? And that's why I suggest people use something like DeFi Saver or things like that. With centralized platforms like BlockFi, you can only borrow up to 50% and you have to regularly pay back. So that's sort of the reason I use it. And for some of my crypto. And it helps because it gives you that structure. And sometimes people just don't realize it, especially if you put a lot into some of these DeFi apps. You just don't really keep track of these things that well, and then those margin calls get really easy. And so, yeah, so that's one of the reasons why centralized options might not be that bad, especially if you do live in the US. Yeah, and that's basically the reasons I use BlockFi. The other thing is like borrowing it out. You can actually use the cash for other things, right? Without selling your Bitcoin or Ethereum, which are actually pretty valuable things nowadays. And with Bitcoin being at like 50K right now, or actually today it's about 60K. So it's really, it usually doesn't work too well when you sell these things. Like with most assets, like a house or things like that, you really want to keep it as long as you can if it's still making, if it's still appreciating in value, right? And yeah, so I'm going to actually show you guys how to take out a loan. I'm going to use some of the Ethereum that I have in this account. And so do note the minimum borrow amount is 10K. So you would need to have at least like 20K or 30K in your account to borrow it out. And let's see what it looks like right now. So the collateral amount, 50 loan to value ratio. And yeah, and the interest rate is, I'd say like 9.75% is higher than a place like Compound. And the reason I'm willing to pay these types of interest rate is that I'm getting more than 9.75% annually when I yield farm and things like that, right? So that's sort of something you do need to pay attention to. Um, is that you don't really want to use this if you're just going to use the cash and just like go and buy a fancy dinner or like something that's not going to make you back 10% interest rate, right? Because if Bitcoin drops in price and things like that, and you want to keep the Bitcoin, you're going to need to pay that loan back. So yeah, and yeah, so that's one of the things to do keep a note is that really when you use debt, make sure you use it in a good manner, either to grow a business or or things that will create value, right? Instead of just going out buying uh, crap you don't need, right? So that's to keep in mind there. But yeah, outside of my warning, let me show you how to take out the loan. So when you do take out the loan, you can add a bank account. Um, for me, I'm just going to borrow it from stablecoin, so it's just going to drop it into my wallet, and then and then you just click proceed. So I'm going to plop in my wallet real quick, and then I'll continue it to the next part of it. So I just click proceed on there, and then now you can see what's interesting about BlockFi is that every loan you take out, you actually sign a contract, unlike platforms like Nexo, which you can just basically take the money out right away. That's kind of interesting. It kind of makes it feel a little bit more legit, honestly. Um, and yeah, and they have you sign a DocuSign and things like that to take out the loan. And the interesting thing about repayment is that I think they do it through another provider. I'll show you that in this video as well for the payments that they do. And then after you sign the DocuSign is when I believe they start the loan. So I think that the approval is actually all done now. And then what they do is they actually move the crypto in your interest bearing account over. So you can see like in my interest account, it's not the full value anymore. They actually move it over to the loan account now. So you actually don't earn any interest on the loan account anymore, right? But that's one of the compared to a place like Compound, you actually still get interest while you're taking out a loan. Of course, the interest is really low on Compound; it's less than 1%, whereas on BlockFi you get about 5% on Ethereum, right? But there's ways you could do that on DeFi where you can still earn interest and things like that. If you've seen some of my BlockFi, get a loan. And then I'm going to the last thing I'm going to just show you is, so basically they can send it to your bank account or send you stable coins to your wallet of choice. And then the last thing I'll show you is basically how you repay a loan. So they actually do the repayments through this platform called Scratch.fi. I started using the loans on BlockFi fairly early, so I actually haven't really even done a first payment yet. But if that is something that might be helpful for me to go over how to do the payments or stuff like that, or just show you guys, let me know in the YouTube comments and I can make another like sort of a payments video on these loans. And yeah, and that's basically it. Yeah, I thought I'd just show you this video and show you some of the things I do. I use a combination of DeFi and centralized platforms for crypto, and that's just really for me to kind of understand the whole scope of like what's out there for me to test new stuff, and it gives me more stuff to share with you guys as well to show you what's the best ways of doing certain things, right? What's the best ways to get more yield, get more crypto assets and stuff like that. And also, it's also a sort of a hedge against like, okay, the centralized platform went under like Mt. Gox, right? But you at least have the decentralized version still working, or the decentralized versions got hacked, but you still have your centralized versions, right? And you can also do cold storage as well. Like for example, get a Ledger Nano. But the thing with Ledger Nano is that you can't really use that crypto asset for anything else, right? And I'm not a big fan of like holding assets that aren't very useful. I want to make sure they're doing something useful, right? Either like supporting a project or providing capital to a company or something like that for them to make the ecosystem better and stuff like that. So that's also why I don't hold it too much in cold storage. I do hold it in cold storage on some of the exchanges though that have some more crypto. And also, like Ledger did get hacked as well. Not the actual wallet itself, but on their email list. And they now have all the emails of everyone that owns a Ledger Nano. So cold storage isn't always the best approach, I've learned over time. I had a Ledger Nano as well. I sold it because I think these wallet apps on iPhones and things like that are pretty good now. And so yeah, and so that's sort of my strategy. You got to figure out your own, but hopefully this is helpful. And if it is, please leave a like or subscribe and check out, and you'll stay up to date on some of the other videos that show you how to yield farm more and your airdrops. Yeah, and I might also go into doing more company analysis videos, like my past stock videos, if I find anything good. But so far, I think crypto is pretty great right now. And yeah, and if there's anything else you want to see more of, leave me a comment in the YouTube comments. And yeah, okay.